door creaked open. Kyle Smith stepped out into the blinding light of day, his heart racing with a mix of relief and uncertainty. The sheriff, a stout man with a weathered face, stood waiting for him. He folded his arms, his expression stern. "Kyle Smith," the sheriff said, his voice gravelly. "You're free to go. Just remember, I hope I never see you again." Kyle looked at the sheriff, unsure how to respond. He extended his hand, but the sheriff merely shook his head and took a step back. "Don't bother." "You've had enough chances," the sheriff replied, his eyes narrowing. "Just stay out of trouble." With those parting words, Kyle took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his past pressing against him. The process of his release was quick and mechanical. A guard handed him his belongings, a worn-out jacket and a few crumpled bills. Kyle felt the cold metal of the keys to his old life, now just remnants of who he used to be. Once outside, he paused to take it all in. The air felt different, sharper somehow. He squinted against the bright sun, his eyes adjusting to the world that had changed over the last 5 years. The streets were buzzing with life, and the sounds of honking cars and distant music filled his ears. The buildings seemed taller, the people busier, and everything felt just a little out of reach. Kyle rubbed the stubble on his chin, trying to shake off the disorientation. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper with his Aunt Virginia's address scrawled on it. "Okay, Kyle," he muttered to himself. "Time to figure out how to get there." He glanced around, spotting a bus stop down the street. The thought of a public bus made him feel uneasy, but it was a start. He took a step forward, his mind racing with questions about what awaited him at his aunt's house and whether she would even want him there after all this time. With determination, he moved toward the bus stop, ready to face whatever came next. As Kyle walked toward the bus stop, he made a quick decision. He glanced down at the few crumpled bills he had left from his commissary account. Why waste it on a bus, he thought. The bridge to Hartsville wasn't far, but it wasn't exactly close either. Besides, after 5 years behind bars, he could use the exercise. A little fresh air would do him good. With each step, he felt a sense of freedom wash over him, but also a twinge of anxiety. Walking to Hartsville would give him time to clear his head and prepare for whatever awaited him at Aunt Virginia's. As he continued down the sidewalk, a thought suddenly struck him. A McBurger? He remembered the fast food joint at the end of the bridge, a place he used to frequent before everything changed. The thought of biting into a greasy burger, something he hadn't tasted in years, made his stomach growl. It would be a perfect way to celebrate his newfound freedom, a small indulgence that would remind him of the world outside. With that delicious goal in mind, Kyle quickened his pace, eager to reach the bridge. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows on the pavement as he approached the towering structure. The sight of the bridge brought a mix of nostalgia and hope. Taking a deep breath, Kyle stepped onto the bridge, feeling the wind whip through his hair. The sound of the river below was soothing, a stark contrast to the clanging of prison doors. He looked ahead, envisioning the McBurger sign glowing in the distance, promising him a taste of freedom and a little piece of normalcy. With determination, he began his walk across the bridge to Hartsville, ready to embrace whatever adventures lay up ahead. As Kyle approached the McBurger, he was taken aback by how much the area had changed since he last saw it. The once familiar surroundings felt almost foreign. The parking lot was repaved, the landscaping was more vibrant, and the park down the street seemed larger and more inviting than he remembered. Kids played on new swings, their laughter echoing in the air, a stark contrast to the silence he had known in prison. Pushing open the door to McBurger, the familiar scent of fries and grilled beef enveloped him, bringing a rush of nostalgia. He stepped up to the counter, where a young employee with bright blue hair greeted him. "Welcome to McBurger. Can I take your order?" she asked, her voice cheerful and energetic. Yeah," Kyle stammered, momentarily caught off guard. "I'll have a double cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke, please." Prepare his order, Kyle looked around, noticing how modern everything seemed. "This place has changed a lot since I was last here." "I guess it's been 5 years." The worker nodded, glancing up from the grill. "Yeah, it's been a busy few years for the neighborhood. We got some new shops and they renovated the park. It's a lot nicer now." "You from around here?" "Sort of," Kyle replied, his heart racing at the thought of revealing too much. "I've been away for a while. Just got out of prison." "Wow, really? That must be a huge adjustment," she said, her eyes widening. "I can't even imagine what it's like. Things are definitely different now. More people, more businesses, you know?" "Yeah, I can see that," Kyle replied, a hint of nostalgia creeping into his voice. "I remember when it was just a few shops and a lot of empty lots. Now it feels alive. Totally. The city's been working on revitalizing the area. It's nice to see people out and about," she said with a smile, handing him his tray. "Here you go, 1 double cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke. Enjoy." "Thanks," Kyle said, grateful for the brief connection. He took the tray, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation as he moved to a side table. He took a moment to savor the sight of his meal, the burger glistening under the fluorescent lights. After a few bites, Kyle couldn't help but feel that this small act of normalcy was a taste of what life could be like again. With the burger in hand and a renewed sense of purpose, he gathered his things, ready to leave. As he stepped out of McBurger, he felt a surge of determination. The journey to his Aunt Virginia's house awaited, and with each step he took, he felt the chains of his past slowly falling away. With the taste of freedom still lingering on his lips, Kyle headed down the street, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As Kyle approached his Aunt Virginia's house, he felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. The block looked different, both familiar and foreign. The little corner store where he and his mom used to walk for snacks had been transformed into a vibrant beauty salon, its windows adorned with colorful posters of hairstyles. New faces lounged on the corner, laughing and chatting, a stark contrast to the neighborhood he remembered from 5 years ago. His heart sank as he glanced over at the store where he had been shot. It had a new name now, Fresh Mart, and a different owner. The old memories lingered like ghosts, haunting him with every step he took. Finally, he approached the apartment building where he had lived for most of his childhood. It looked the same, but felt different. Taking a deep breath, he rang the doorbell, the sound echoing in the quiet afternoon. Moments later, an elderly woman sitting on the front stoop glanced up at him, her eyes narrowing in curiosity. "Who are you looking for, dear?" she asked, her voice warm yet cautious. "I'm looking for my Aunt Virginia," Kyle replied, his heart racing. "Is she home?" The woman's expression shifted, a mixture of sympathy and sorrow crossing her face. "Oh, honey, you haven't heard?" Virginia passed away 5 years ago. Kyle felt like the ground had been knocked out from under him. "What? No, that can't be true." "I'm so sorry," she continued, her voice gentle. "It was a tough time for her. After she died, her boyfriend Damien got really bad. He's strung out on crack now and hangs out 2 blocks over with the other junkies." "Damien," Kyle murmured, trying to process the news. He remembered Damien as someone who had always been kind to him, even if he had his issues. "I'm really sorry for your loss," the woman said softly. "Virginia was a good person. She loved you very much." "Thank you," Kyle managed to say, feeling a mix of grief and anger welling up inside him. The memories of laughter and warmth at his aunt's house flooded his mind, and he felt the sting of tears in his eyes. "I spent so much time here." The woman nodded knowingly. "I can imagine. It was a good home for you." With a heavy heart, Kyle thanked her for the information, feeling a sense of emptiness settle in. He turned and walked away from the building, the weight of his aunt's death pressing down on him. He needed to find Damien, to see if there was any chance to help him, to find out what had happened to the family he had left behind.